we're going to be using, going through Algebra Review Packet 1 for you guys to get you guys ready for your SOL test at the end of the year. I left this top part blank right now just because I really don't want you to concentrate on that. I will fill it in for later, but again, I don't want to concentrate on that because that's really not going to be any SOL questions that relate to that. You should have a pretty good understanding of the real number system, however. So definitely want you guys to make sure you do that. So the other thing that we did go over at the beginning of the year is our properties. Okay, now I've written all these out, and I really want you guys to go ahead, pause the video, and write any notes, write these down, and then just pay attention to how I'm explaining this. Okay, so go ahead, pause the video and copy these down. All right. Okay, so in the commutative property, I always tell my students to concentrate on the first two letters of commutative. That's CO. And I said that stands for changing order. So it tells me if I add two numbers or I multiply two numbers, the order does not change the result. Okay? The associative deals with the location of grouping symbols. Okay? So if the location of grouping symbols changes when we're multiplying or when we're adding, then the outcome does not change. All right. Identity, I always say is, okay, guys, remember you start out with what you end up with. Okay. So the beginning equals the end. So how do you do that when you're adding? You would add 0 to something. And if you're multiplying, you multiply by 1. Okay. Inverse is just the art of undoing something. And we're really good at that when we're solving equations, which is why we're learning this property. We're using inverse properties to solve for equations. Okay, so any number plus its opposite is equal to 0, and any number times its reciprocal is equal to 1. Zero product is that anything times 0 is equal to 0. And you guys know the distributive property very well. You're going to multiply this number on the outside by both numbers and then add them together. Okay? You could also do that if you were subtracting as well. So if I did A times B minus C, that's equal to AB minus AC. All right? Reflexive is just like looking in a mirror, right? Everything is equal to itself, right? And then for the symmetric property, if A is equal to B, then B is equal to A. So one of the things that's important about the symmetric property is you always have this if-then, okay? And that they switch, they flip over the equal sign, all right? The last one is our three-step property, which is the transitive property. And that's just if A is equal to B and B is equal to C, then A is equal to C. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and try to, I'm going to try to cover these up, sorry. Go ahead and pause the video and try to answer the questions right after this and tell me what you got. Okay, so pause the video and then you can check your work. Okay, you're back. So these are the answers. Hopefully they were pretty easy to do. If you need any review, some of the ones that are usually often wrong are the multiplicative inverse and the additive inverse. So make sure you understand those correctly. Okay? All right. Now, we're going to be using our calculator a lot, and I've taught you guys how to use some things in your calculator quite a bit. So I wanted to kind of show you a couple things. One thing is to do your square root. Now your square root is you would press your second key and the x squared button. Okay, so if I was going to do second x squared 25, and that's equal to 5. Okay, and then you could also do your cube root, which I'm going to do right here, which is 216. Get to your cube root. You're going to press your math button, and as you can see, option 4 right there is your cube root button, and I enter 216, and there I go. The other thing I wanted to show you was being able to create a fraction. We have to do fractions a lot in this, and one of the easiest ways to do that is to use your alpha y equals key. And I wanted to show you it in this, right? So if I wanted to take the square root of 16 divided by 49, I'm going to go ahead and press second x squared. I want a fraction in here. So I'm going to do alpha y equals, and I'm going to put 16 over 49. Okay? And I get 4/7. All right? So a couple things I wanted you guys to try to do is use your absolute value key and this fraction key. So let me walk you through what this problem would do, and then I want you to try the next one, okay? So first thing I have to do is 2 cubed. So that's 2 to the 3rd power, right? And then I'm multiplying it times 9 minus 2. So I'm basically entering it exactly how I see it. Plus 12 divided by 4. So I'm going to do the alpha y equals thing again. 12 divided by 4. If you don't use your alpha y equals and you just use the division sign, that's fine, but you have to put parentheses around that fraction. Okay? And then I'm going to subtract, and I need to do absolute value. Absolute value is also found in our math. So I go to math, and then I arrow over to num. Okay? And abs, that's not the abs on your stomach, that's the absolute value. Okay? And I'm going to put, where am I? -5 right here. Okay? And I always arrow out to the right to get out of it. So I press enter and I get 54. Go ahead and try the next one. Don't put brackets in, always use parentheses. So you're going to double your parentheses up on number 2. Okay, so hopefully you guys had a chance to try that, and I'm going to go ahead and walk you through it. So I have 8 minus, and I'm going to put parentheses, 12 divided by, and then I put parentheses again. And I'm going to do the square root of 49, arrow over, minus 1, close parentheses again, and then plus 1. And I get 7. Okay? Now, the next one I want you to try, I want you to be really careful. I've made mistakes with this before. This one down here, right over here, is 5 cubed. So first thing I'm going to do is press alpha y equals to get my thing here. Okay, and then I'm going to do 5 to the 3rd power. Now, if I don't arrow out of this 5 to the 3rd, it's going to keep everything in the exponent, and I can't do that. So I need to arrow over, and I'm going to subtract 42 and divide it by 6, right? Then on the bottom, I'm going to put the cube root. So again, cube root of 8, and then I arrow over again. And I should get 59. Okay, now yes, you can break this up, but your calculator is a wonderful tool, especially if you enter everything correctly. It makes a huge difference. So now we're learning how to use the store key. So your store key is right over here, right under the LN key, right? It's right above the on key. And what you do, the whole process is that you are using these keys to store in these values. Okay, so what you do first is you press your value, and I do -3, and then I'm going to do store, right? And then to store that as X, I'm going to use either this button right here for X, or I can do alpha X, which is the green button, so that they're all green because they tell you that you're supposed to use the green button to get to that. So I'm just going to go ahead and use alpha X, all right? So that tells me, and then I know I've done it right because that's what happens. That's what I'm going to see. So I'm going to store -2 as W. So I'm going to do -2 and store. And then to do W, I'm going to show you on this again, alpha W. Okay? And I plug it in. And then I have Y is 1. So I do 1 store alpha y. Okay, so now when I enter this, I enter in the variables because I've already told the calculator every time you see x, I want you to give me a -3. Every time you see w, I give me a -2, and 1 is y. Okay, so then I enter this exactly as I've seen it. Now to get to the alpha keys again, I just press alpha w. So this is, where's my w? Right here. Okay, and that's w squared. All right, and then I'm doing -5 times x and then alpha y. Okay, so that should be 19. All right, now I can always just reset my calculator by pressing second plus 7, 1, 2. All right, I want you to go ahead and try to do this one as well. So let's do this. I've got A is 1, so I'm going to press 1, and then I'm going to press the store key, and alpha A. So where's my A? A button has my math. Okay. Then I do -5. -5 store alpha B. And B is right here. It's my apps button. Okay. Then -4 store alpha C. Okay. So I've stored all those. Then I'm going to press my alpha y equals to get my fraction and enter this exactly how I see it. I don't have to remember parentheses or anything like that if I store my variables, which is fantastic. Okay, so I got 7 alpha c squared, right, plus 5. That's on top. On the bottom, I do 4 alpha a minus alpha b. It seems really complicated, but as you get used to it, you guys are going to be so much happier that you did this. Okay, and so I get the option of 13. Okay, go ahead and do the next one and tell me how you do. Okay, so you should have gotten -30, all right? Remember to use your absolute value key here. Make sure you're storing these in correctly, and you should be good. All right, so, all right, when we translate equations, we have to remember keywords, okay? So quotient happens to symbolize division, and twice a number is 2x. And remember, is represents an equal sign. So that's 2x divided by 7 is equal to 20. All right? Now, when we have less than or greater than, that means I change the order. Okay? Product means multiplication. So the product of a number and 3. So that would be 3x. And then 5 less than that, minus 5, is 14. So is again equal sign. So even if you're trying to translate this stuff and you don't quite know it, if it's a multiple choice, if you know some of the stuff, it should be able to help you along. Okay? Now, when you do 7 times the difference or the sum, that tells me that I'm going to have parentheses. Okay, so 7 times the difference of x and 4. So I subtract x and 4 is equal to -10. Okay, the product of a number and 4 increased by 1 is at least is greater than or equal to. All right, so the product of a number and 4 increased by 1 is greater than or equal to 7. All right, now our basic equations, some of the easy things to do, you want to do your opposite operations. I also might suggest that you use your calculator to do this. So if you want to use your calculator to solve some of these equations, you are more than welcome to do so. But I'll just go ahead and use my regular thing here. We'll spend the next, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes going over these problems, and then we'll move on to some of these word problems. We'll probably do it in another video though. So here I'm going to subtract 3 from each side. And I get negative 3a is equal to 18 minus 3, which is 15. I divide by negative 3, and I get a is equal to negative 5. All right. Now, I want to get rid of all the numbers first, and then I divide or multiply at the very end. So this 4 is positive right here. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 4 from each side, and I get negative 1/2 times n is equal to negative 16. Now, you can divide by negative 1/2 or just multiply by a negative 2, which is what I'm going to do. Okay, so I get n is equal to 32. All right, now I wanted to show you a way to deal with these fractions because they can be tricky. So first things first, I get rid of this 17. So I've got 3/4 x is equal to 6. Now, I'm going to multiply by the number on the bottom, and I get 3x equals 24. So when I get to 3x equals 24, all I have to do is divide by 3. So x is equal to 8. Okay? I always tell my students, whenever you see parentheses in an equation and you're solving for a variable, you need to distribute first. So I'm going to distribute the negative 4 first. Please make sure you remember that sign. So I get 9y minus 4y minus 4 is equal to 31. Then I'm going to combine like terms. So I've got 9y and negative 4y. That gives me a 5y minus 4 equals 31. Add your 4, add your 4. You get 5y is equal to 35, and we divide by 5. So y is equal to 7. All right. Now, number 5 and 6. Go ahead and give number 5 and 6 a try, and then you can check your work. All right. You're really not going to do, it's not going to do you much good unless you try to do some of these on your own. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute. So I get negative 6w plus 24 plus 8w equals 2w plus 18. So always after you distribute, you're going to combine like terms, which means you're going to combine like terms that are on the same side of the equal sign. Okay, so I combine these. I don't add 6w to everything. I combine these. So that's going to give me 2w plus 24 equals 2w plus 18. Okay, we have a problem here. Our variables are going to cancel out. All right, and because of that, we're going to end up with a 24 and an 18. Now, whenever your variable goes away and the numbers are different, the answer is no solution. So you're going to say no solution or empty set. Okay, so let's try the next one. Don't forget to distribute this negative. You're multiplying everything by like a negative 1. Okay, so it's 3m minus 7m minus 12 equals 2m minus 6. Combine your like terms. You've got negative 4m minus 12 equals 2m minus 6. And I'm going to subtract 2m from each side. I get negative 6m, sorry, minus 12 is equal to negative 6. I add 12, and I get negative 6m is equal to 6, divide by negative 6, and m is equal to negative 1. Now I know I'm going quickly on these. I'm hoping that you guys are doing some of these on your own and then checking your work. Okay, so this is the first few pages of the packet. We'll go ahead and finish up packet 1, and then we'll continue on. But thanks for listening, and be sure to come back and watch more videos. All right, thanks.